So I made a game about a duck protecting little ducks from Yoda, except there's many of them, and they're naked, and the only way to kill them is to beat them in blackjack. To understand how he got here, we need to go back.
Hello there.
I'm Duxedo, and I recently participated in my first game jam, the Miz Jam 1, hosted by Miziziziz. The theme of the jam was to use this given art pack and make a game over 48 non-consecutive hours. You could also crop, cut, tint the sprites to make original things, as long as it was fairly recognizable. I gave myself one restriction, and that was to stick to the color palette of the art pack. When the art pack was revealed, I had a look through it, and all I could think was,
Now that's a lot of sprites.
looking through the pack, I was immediately drawn to the playing cards. They were just so cute. Then I came across this duck, and I was like, hey, this duck is cool, and I'm a duck, so let's go with that. Then, because my brain only works in puns, it immediately thought, Quack Jack. Then the ideas came rushing in. I didn't want to go too crazy with my first game jam, so I could get a true grasp of what I could achieve in this time frame. So I settled on a top-down shooter game with blackjack rules. For you kids wondering what blackjack is, click away. Gambling is bad. So what is blackjack? Blackjack, formerly also blackjack, and Vingdun? Okay. Essentially, it's a game where you have to beat the dealer's cards with the sum of your cards without going over the number 21. And that's all you really need to know for now. So the idea was to spawn enemies with random health values, and the player has to shoot cards at the enemies. The sum of the hit cards needs to match the enemy health value without going over 21 to kill them. Now I need an appropriate enemy. Naked Yoda. Sunday night, I got started by cracking open a nice cold Unity project, then started importing all the sprites I thought I would need. I then made the duck boy, did some programming, now he moves. I then got distracted because I was trying to decide if he needed a hat or not. Sorry pal, not today. I started programming the aiming, and then added a pointy, and now I needed something to shoot. So I made a card and got typing. And we are shooting. Then before I stopped for the night, I made some final tweaks and ended up with this. It was time to get some data flowing through these cards, and I decided to try out scriptable objects, which is good for separating data and logic. I made a class to manage the deck. I wanted the player to be shooting the actual 52 cards and not just completely random cards. That way the real nerds that count cards can plan ahead. After grinding out 52 scriptable objects and some more programming, the data was flowing. Cards were being told how to look and how much damage they did. At this point, I was thinking that the Yodas needed a better objective than to just kill the player. So I gave the player ducklings in a pond to defend, and the Yodas got to try take them away to eat, because that makes sense. This way, the player can be more strategic, as they can choose which enemy gets what card, as they have way less heat on them. After making the pond and ducklings, I then needed to show the Yodas holding the ducklings. So I jumped into Photoshop and flipped the arms. After some more of this, things were happening. Today I got started on a grid system for making maps and pathfinding. It is clearly needed. With the grid system, I was able to make a map generation system. I set it up so it reads a simple image, then generates a map. That way, when the time comes to making levels, it should be quick and easy. After having the map generation working, the enemies needed somewhere to take the ducks, so I made this mysterious exit zone with Unity's particle system. With that done, up next was pathfinding.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
As far as I'm aware, Unity doesn't have an inbuilt pathfinding system for 2D. So, I made my own. And the one thing university taught me was, A-star pathfinding was the best. After refreshing myself with a few blog posts and videos, in a couple of hours, I had this. Good enough for now. I didn't want players trying to body block Yodas, so I made the duck die, after being knocked back a few times, with cool particles. Started off the day by adding numbers under the Yodas, so the player can track their scores against the Yoda scores, with the white text tracking the current score and the red being the score to beat. Now it was time to juice up the game with some screen shake. Also added some other subtle camera movements for some good juicy feels. I then jumped over to BFXR and made some little soundies. Finish off the day by making a sound manager and slapping them sounds in. This was the final day. I'd barely hit 19 hours of work. I still had a lot to do and so little time. So I thought
Trying to make music was a good idea.
yeah, nah, open game art. Thank you, SketchyLogic. Very cool. At this point, the game had a problem. You could just spam cards and eventually you would get lucky enough to win. So I added a few things. First, an option to shuffle the deck and try draw a different card for strategic gameplay. Second was have a really long timer for when you have to completely reload the deck. The third thing was, if you shoot over 21, the Yoda score goes up by 1, with a max of 20. Finally, if you get exactly 21, you are rewarded with an instant kill card. Now things are feeling pretty good. I went on and added some bread. Cause you know, ducks like bread, gives them health.
Freaking delicious.
Then played around with some death particles for the Yodas. Made it so some bones fly out, because that's what happens when you die. But with my color palette, it made our duck hard to see, and I wasn't going to make an outline shader or manually draw it in. Finished on this blood effect. Pretty cool. It was finally time to finish off the game with all the boring stuff, which I did via montage. I submitted with 3 hours to spare. This was the game. So my final thoughts. I spent too much time thinking of code architecture, and I really shouldn't have made my own pathfinding system. I also should have managed my time better. I didn't use all 48 hours. But I'm happy with what I made, and I had a lot of fun making it. But the game does feel like a rejected weapon concept for Enter the Gungeon. Though there were a few things I had ready but didn't implement, like this Keemstar Yoda that just spits on you, had a whole art imitating life thing going. Anyway, if you have any ideas or feedback for the game, I'd love to hear it. I'm probably going to do another game jam real soon, and do something more ambitious. So if you want to see that, stick around. Bye.